You're listening to the B&H Photography Podcast. For over 40 years, B&H has been the professional source for photography, video, audio, and more. For your favorite gear, news, and reviews, visit us at bnh.com or download the B&H app to your iPhone or Android device. Now here's your host, Alan Weitz.
Greetings and welcome to the B&H Photography Podcast. Today we welcome photographer Matthew Franklin Carter to the program. Matthew, like most of us, wears a lot of hats. He's represented by the wonderful Machine Agency, and he shoots documentary, editorial, and portrait photography that reflects the region he calls home, Greenville, South Carolina. Family, friends, music, fishing, hunting, and of course, drag racing and dirt cars are depicted with humility, grace, and a well-tuned sense of humor. We're going to get into the racing in a few minutes, but as an intro, I'd like to read something from Matthew's own website. Okay, here you go. I've been a drummer for 30 years or so, and an embarrassment to guitarists for almost as long. Like my camera equipment, my drum kit is a healthy mix of really old, fragile stuff that I love and fancy new gear. Film, digital, medium format, mirrorless drones, old drums, new cymbals. They're all just tools and all have their place. Matt, we can end the show right there. Thank you. We just met already. I love you like a brother. There's no need to say more. Good night, everybody. Have a lovely day. Okay? Seriously, that's just a great touch.
I pulled that out because I had a feeling you'd like it, Alan.
John, I love you like a brother too. What can I say? We're going to start talking about gear, but I want to start somewhere else instead. I read that you credit your father, who's a local preacher, on your methodology of approaching strangers and gaining their trust before sticking a camera in their face to take a picture. Is there a big difference, do you think, between the folks down in Greenville and the rest of us? You know, like in the big cities, or not? Okay, let's exclude Los Angeles. Okay, we'll keep Los Angeles out of that. But you know, other places. Seriously, when you get down to it, people are people. Am I right or wrong?
I think you're right. I think there's a whole world telling us there's a white hat and a black hat, and there's good and bad, and these people hate you, and you should hate them, and all this kind of crap. And so, I personally really believe that we're all pretty much the same, and we all get along pretty dang good.
As photographers, we all understand grayscale. It's a lot of shades of gray.
Man. That's right.
Seriously.
So, yeah. So, but yeah, I think that, like you said, I think we're all pretty much the same.
I'm going to follow up on Alan's thing that you take that thought with you as you photograph, right? I mean, we've all been in situations.
Yeah. Yeah. I rarely meet a stranger, so
yeah.
You know, even at this, you know, in this dirt track work or early on, you know, when I first started shooting out on the street a little bit, you know, just going up and introducing yourself to a total stranger and being like, "Hey, can I take your photograph? You know, I like that hat. You look cool," or just striking up conversation, you know. So,
and when did you start that way? Did you start as a street photographer, or just taking your camera around, or did you start in the studio and lights and?
No, man. So I took a photo 101 class as an elective, and a photojournalism class as part of my major. Outside of music, it was the only thing that anybody was ever like, "Hey, you might have something here." So I just kind of started rolling with it. So it was like shooting newspaper kind of stuff, you know, for the school. Was kind of where I started. So I grew up in a really small town in North Carolina, just above Charlotte. And so we're in a really small town, but my dad was a pastor at a really large church. And so kind of everybody knew him. And part of his, you know, like it's sort of like I am now with my kids, in that I can take my daughter on a gig with me. She's been a lighting assistant. I can't tell you how many times in just really weird situations. And so in the same way, Dad would occasionally take me or my sister to like shut-ins homes, because he knew, like, hey, if I take my kid, it's gonna brighten the day of this, you know, this old lady who's kind of here by herself all the time, and it's gonna give her a good opportunity to get her day brightened by a little kid. On the flip side, I also know my dad is savvy enough to know that this is going to serve me well later down the road.
Oh yeah.
For me to be able to talk to anybody, or go in, even like lots of times, like countless times, I've been, in the hospital room with somebody who's dying. Like they have just a couple days left. And Dad would take a little kid, you know, so I could, I guess, learn to comfort people. And, you know, part of that being a ministry thing, and also part of that also just being a life skill that most people don't have. I think we can all comfort people, but I think a lot of people are also just terrified of that situation. And it's never fun for anybody. But so all that, I say all that to say, I think that has really informed my whole career, whether it was like when I was in the restaurant business or in this or whatever. I'm just able to talk to people about difficult subjects, or just get on really quick with somebody who I might not even know. Because a lot of times Dad was called out to stuff that he doesn't know the person. You know, it's like Clara's uncle's brother or whatever is dying. Can you go talk to him? Okay. So, you know, take this kid.
I think it's interesting that by having your father expose you to people essentially in crisis, and not necessarily death, but in crisis often.
Yeah.
All right. If you could approach people and deal with them in that kind of situation, approaching a stranger who is not in crisis, like at a race or in the street or something like that, has got to be a lot easier, because you have to. There are less considerations. Now you're just connecting with a person, not necessarily the crisis that they're going through. So that makes it easier to do what you do, if anything.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. I am what I would say an extroverted introvert. And I, you know, like if I have a crowd, I can turn it on, be Mr. Funny, hang out. But if it's like just me, sometimes I'm pretty bashful. I'm pretty, you know, scared, just like all of us. But there was a quote. I'll read this quote really quick from a movie. Or it's probably a book first, I guess. But it's that movie, We Bought a Zoo. It was a Matt Damon movie.
Yeah.
And in that movie, he says, sometimes all we need is 20 seconds of insane courage. Just literally 20 seconds of embarrassing bravery. And I promise you, something great will come of it. And so for me, that was like just hearing that. And in the context of the movie, it's about him like meeting his wife and stuff. He's telling his kids about meeting his wife. And that was actually kind of pivotal for me, like hearing that. And then a second thing, me and my wife were throwing a concert one time in my first studio. And it was just sort of this like time to bring a musician hero of mine, this guy named Bill Maloney from Athens, Georgia, came up and played a show at our place. And so we just invited friends to come out and check it out. And so a friend of mine, Zach Arias, is a photographer out of Atlanta. His now ex-wife was also playing at that thing, and Zach came. And so while Bill was playing, I remember like, so Bill, this guy who's like this really big songwriter and kind of a hero to me, Zach got about 6 inches from his face with the X100 just during the middle of the show. I mean, like right in the dude's mic. And I was like, man, what is he doing? That's nuts. Don't do that. But I also knew this is why his pictures are so good and mine aren't, because he's taking risks. And so I don't know if I'm rambling right now or not, but all this to say, like those two moments, like watching him do that and hearing that quote, plus all of my life experience, just told me that like rejection is not near as scary as we think it is. And so I think sometimes you just got to take what seemingly is a really stupid risk in a moment and just introduce yourself, you know, like, hey, can I take your picture?
Yeah, and
you know?
did that really kind of light a fire under you? I mean, did that bring you to new projects or get you to start projects?
That was right before Dirt, man.
Okay.
The thing with Zach was. So yeah, I think right after that's when I started shooting the Dirt.
And let me just clarify that, yeah, the Dirt project is working at dirt racetracks, right? Where, you know, cars
yeah, just one racetrack actually.
Okay.
So
no, but let me jump back a bit then, because, you know, Alan read that great quote from your website and it talked about, you know, using all kinds of gear and just using the right tool for the job. So why don't we talk a little bit about that? Because, you do a range of work. I mean, I've seen, in studio portraiture, I've seen environmental portraiture, you're out in the field, and then you're working on dirt racetracks. What kind of kits do you have, and what do you leave behind when you run out to the track compared to what you use at the studio?
So on the at the time when I started the dirt project, I was shooting all Nikon stuff. That's what I grew up on. And I had also just gotten a Mamiya RZ67 with a film back. So shooting 6x7 120 film on that, and also had a Polaroid back. And so I was shooting the Fuji 3000B a lot, and the 120C or whatever I can't remember what they call it. Whatever the Fuji Pack films were, I was shooting those two a lot, and shooting some Delta black and white as well. So on that particular project, I also had just gotten the first Fuji X100. Mm-hmm. And so I was literally carrying all that crap.
Oh, you were.
And so it came to me at some point that it's just a tool, and it really didn't matter. This is a terrible environment for any camera. And especially any lighting or anything, just because it is down here in South Carolina in the upstate, we have not dirt, we have red clay. And there's just this thick red clay. And once it gets on something, it's pretty hard to get off.
It's the color of everybody's shoes.
Exactly, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, white Nike Air Force Ones down here.
Yeah, and the bottom 3 or 4 inches of your jeans, it just fades into whatever color pants you're wearing at the time.
Exactly,
or
man.
socks, whatever.
So out there, yeah. So those were, I think those were the 4 systems I was running. I may have picked up the X Pro One, the Fuji X Pro One, during the beginning of this project, but I remember I sold off my whole Nikon kit and just waited for the X Pro One to come out. So that's kind of what I was shooting on this whole project. So generally, I had a little Honda Element at the time, and I would just take the back seats out and just fill it up with gear. And so,
and how would you kind of break it down? I mean, if you're using Mamiya. That's a little different setup than if you're carrying around a little Fuji. So would you make a decision that one day you're going to do this, or just have it all ready?
No, man, it's all got to be with me all the time. Yeah. It has to all be with me all the time.
You're carrying a very eclectic camera kit. Do you say use your Mamiya, your 6x7 film camera for portraits, and your APS-C camera, your Fuji for other things, or do you just grab whatever seems appropriate for whatever the picture opportunity is?
For the Fuji stuff, there's something about that very first X100 that if you point at that thing at light, specifically the sun, if you just point it directly into the sun, F2, magical things happened. And really, so any, pinpoint light or whatever, which you'll see throughout some of that work. I shoot into light a lot, and I like what it does, man. So that Fuji X100 was like, okay, if I'm shooting towards the sun, I'm just going to put that thing up, and something good's going to come of it. With the Mamiya, obviously, it's a slower thing to work with, and typically that was not really portrait work, oddly enough. Like to date, I still think my portrait work is like my strongest work. It's the thing I probably in ways enjoyed the most. But on the dirt project, it was sort of one of the things I mostly regret about the project is that I didn't really shoot portraits that much. I still felt like such an outsider, and I stuck out like a sore thumb, and so I, because I'm the dork carrying around all the camera stuff, and like, who is this guy? And, nobody knows him. I didn't have a single contact there, but I was there every week, like I was the guy driving this weird orange Honda toaster into the pits, And
let me talk a little bit about that. Like, kind of breaking the ice with people. I mean, you show up in your goofy car and all this gear. I mean, there's a lot of gear there. These guys are gearheads in their own way, guys and girls. So, any anecdotes, anything about how you were able to kind of break the ice, or was it just a matter of letting people ignore you for a while until somebody came up, or did you use those people skills that you have and start talking before you started photographing?
Yeah, if anything, I am a people connector, and so I am constantly fighting for a way to get in with people, and so I'm going to leverage whatever I can. And so the whole reason I got on this project was my father-in-law raced at this very dirt track years prior. Like I don't think he had raced at this track in like over 10 years. But I quizzed him on like, hey, do you have any buddies that might still be down there? And he named a couple names. My brother-in-law named a couple names. And I went around looking for those people. Did not find them. Like finally found one guy. And I probably hung with him like for a couple races. But he was pretty boring, pretty vanilla. And so I just moved on to more interesting looking characters who would allow me to hang out, It's kind of funny in the racing scene. I think they are all pretty, like the racers are all pretty accustomed to people just walking up and looking at their stuff. Like, oh, what kind of engine you got, man? Like I know nothing about cars. And so for me, I just walk up and kind of act like I know what I'm doing. Like, oh yeah, man, I'm gonna look at this. They're probably like, why is he looking where the gas goes? That's weird.
Fake it till you make it.
So, but I would also ask questions, like, oh man, like, tell me about your car, like, tell me about this engine or whatever, but usually I would just kind of hang back and just stick a camera where I probably shouldn't be sticking it, like just get real close in and start shooting, So
and people's reaction is generally either indifference or some curiosity.
So it's kind of funny. There's two projects on my site. There's Dirt, or surrounding racing. There's Dirt and there's Glory. Glory is all about drag racing, and Dirt is just about this one dirt track. Right. In Lawrence, South Carolina.
Is there a hierarchy? Do either one of those groups look down on the other?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, you would think so because racing is a funny thing, man.
My guess is that dirt tracking is just a lot more casual kickback and having fun, whereas the drag race, they're serious.
Oh no, that's serious top to bottom. That's what I think is mind-numbingly crazy about all of racing. There is no money in racing at these levels.
It's like photography.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're just a glutton for punishment, So, if you just want to get your wallet taken away, sign up for a hobby, any hobby. Yeah. But like some of these guys, like what really intrigued me about this was my father-in-law. Seeing him, like before we were married, I'd go over there and it'd be like 6 o'clock. He'd just be getting in from work and he wouldn't come in till 11 o'clock at night. Yeah. And it was because he came home and worked on that car all week long until Friday or Saturday night, and he would go race. And then you might wreck it all and then you just start over. And so at this dirt track, there were like several classes of cars, and you'll see that in the images. Like some of them you can tell like, oh, that's, you can tell that's a race car. And a lot of them, you're like, that's a Saturn. You're racing a Saturn. And so what's weird is like that Saturn class or whatever. I mean, it's not a Saturn class, but like that lowest class makes like $200 on the purse. That highest class, like a $40,000 car, it might be $1,000, maybe, if you're lucky on like a special night. Right. But like in that high class, those dudes are like replacing tires every week. They are at the time. I have an image somewhere and I can't find it, but I remember taking a picture of a gas pump there for that racing fuel, and this like I said, this was several years ago, but the price was like $8 a gallon or something, and they were just burning it.
It's jet fuel. That's
I mean, it's just crazy. So like, but what's funny in the drag racing scene, the particular drag racing scene that I follow is I've got a far more connected world there. Like I know a lot of people there. Those dudes have easily like $60, $70, $80,000 cars, and they're like, they look like vintage show cars, but they actually race, and they wreck them all the time. And those dudes, that purse for that particular set of races, and they'll be there for 2 days working their tails off. It's $400. And they're driving from Michigan like every week to the South for this. A lot of them. So there's dudes from Texas and Michigan and Ohio and Indiana and New York or whatever. And they all come down here for that. Just to race every weekend, all like summer and fall. So anyway, like that's what turned me on to racing, was like, why are you doing this? This is insane. To work so hard at something that could, there's no insurance, you could wreck it and you're just done, man. So all that just blew my mind, and I was like, I gotta go.
You can't even buy insurance for these cars. I mean,
that's my understanding. Yeah, like
I mean, I imagine it's not going to be cheap. I know that, but I guess you're doing something with a product that your goal is ultimately you're destroying it in one way. So.
Yeah, that's why you see a lot of zip ties on a lot of these cars and like duct tape and stuff. But like on that gasser stuff, on the drag racing stuff, Glory, those are literally like you have a 1930-something Ford Anglia. Like most people have never even heard of a Ford Anglia. And then you go and see this little car and you're like, that's a cool car. You're like, oh, you're gonna make that thing pop a wheelie like 3 times going down the track, and you might wreck it. And if you do win, out of all these cars, you might get $400. So it is not a money thing until you get to like NASCAR or like NHRA drag racing or something. But I think that's the spark in everybody involved, is like, one day I'll get recognized. I'll get taken. I'll be in that class of racer one day.
That's what makes the whole thing happen. I mean, the fact they're all out there trying to get this thing, but they're also enjoying themselves along the way. They're enjoying the ride. It's not like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? No, they're enjoying the ride. That's the impression I'm getting.
Yeah. No, a lot of them know they'll never go anywhere, but this is what I do, man. This consumes my life.
I think we all have something like that, right? I mean,
sure, absolutely.
Alan mentioned with photography certainly is it for a lot of them. But
Yeah.
I noticed, a lot of the shots, of course, are just the crowd and the people that are there, and the vibe looks pretty happy. And I mean, I'm looking at a photo of a girl riding a bike, through the scene.
I know exactly which picture you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, do you interact a lot with folks, or are you just kind of trying to be a fly on the wall? And are you comfortable being the outsider in this group? And is that kind of the role you take when you're photographing, or are you trying to work your way slowly but surely to be an insider, if that's not the right phrase, insider, but
sure, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? How do you kind of approach?
So on the, like I said, they're 2 totally different kind of things. On the dirt project, I knew nobody. And I was literally like, there were fist fights, all kinds of stuff happening at that racetrack. Literally like there's a story of a guy at that dirt track who was just, somebody wrecked him. He waited for him on the pits and he just walks up and shoots the guy. Like sitting in his car, just point blank shoots him.
Well, it wasn't that much different in the studio before the pandemic hit. We started working at home. That's one of the nice things about recording remotely. We don't have these problems anymore with John.
That's right.
Sorry, go ahead.
I know where you live, Alan. Be careful. But,
so, it's just like, it's a crazy world down there, and I'm not a part of it. And so and they know that. So I'm like, am I going to get robbed? Am I going to get into a fight if I stick this camera in the wrong place? Because there's also cheating and all kinds of stuff, and they don't want you knowing about that and all that kind of junk. Right. On the Glory stuff, the racing stuff, my brother-in-law is kind of the merch guy for that whole racing organization. And so his little tent he has is like the hangout. And so I was originally sort of just giving him some images to use for, promotional stuff. And then I just kept going to some races. And so like he knows everybody and he would introduce me to people. So they don't feel threatened at all. And they all have like show cars basically, so they're used to like people coming up and talking and oohing and ahhing over their cars and stuff. I'm usually the guy though who's pointing cameras because I don't care about all that stuff. I'm shooting them, and I think that does weird them out. But so anyway, go back to your original question. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, that was it. I mean, I guess you're wearing two hats a little bit. I mean, or at least flexing different skills. And one of them is knowing when to kind of shy away and just disappear into the fog a little bit.
Right.
But I noticed in the Glory series, there are a lot of portraits. I mean, you're doing these works with the guys wearing their helmets, which I think is really nice. And how'd you set those up, or did you have a spot that you used? Did you bring any extra lighting, or is that just something that you just grabbed them, put them aside, and took a photo?
Yeah. So on the Dirt project, I quickly learned that lighting was going to be a nightmare. Just because I'm one man, right. I wasn't carrying an assistant or anything. On this Glory stuff, I just decided because the lighting didn't work before, I'm just not going to carry it. So most of the time, I would maybe have like a pop-up reflector or something with me. And actually, B&H has a 5-in-1 reflector that's like huge. And I want to say it's an Impact.
Probably.
Maybe that's just house brand. Yeah. But it's like a 5-in-1, and I want to say it's like 5 foot tall or something.
Yeah.
So I carry that with me all the time, no matter what kind of gig. But my thoughts were, hey, I'm going to use this as a backdrop, just a white. And then I started looking around. I was like, oh, I'll just use these trailers. Like I'll find white trailers and just shoot them against white trailers, and use that reflector to kind of fill underneath. And so like this one that says Justin across the guy's helmet, that's what that is. You can actually see a rivet of the trailer up behind him. So yeah, that's kind of what I just decided to use what's here. For a while on some of this Glory stuff, I didn't have it during the Dirt stuff, but I on a gig, a guy gave me an old U-Haul truck. So
those are good friends.
I had an F-350 U-Haul truck. It was a piece of junk, but I loaded it up with gear, and I had this dream of like making a mobile studio with it. I would like hang backdrops off the side and stuff. But for some of this, I was also shooting that as a backdrop, because I can park wherever I want with a lot of the stuff because of my brother-in-law, and I would just set up shop and be like, "Hey, man, you look cool. Stand up against this wall." So.
And have you developed relationships with any of the people you photographed, and perhaps thought, okay, these guys or this person would be a good subject to stick with and follow and make them maybe a main character in a series, or has it always been just kind of wandering and
it has always been wandering. That that was my goal at the Dirt thing, and I could just never break through the wall. Now that I'm older and more experienced, it's a thing I've often been like, I want to go back to Dirt. I want to go back to Dirt. I want to go back to Dirt. Because I feel like I could do some of that now. And like my end game was like, I want to go to the bar afterwards with this guy. I want to go to his little shop, beforehand, like all week long, and photograph him throwing wrenches in his shop and getting mad.
No, I'd imagine the environments would be wonderful.
Oh yeah, I mean they're incredible.
These shops, each one is a little world.
Oh yeah, and so and they're two again, just because of the monetary differences in these two worlds, like this guy particular, the Justin guy with the helmet. That guy, he and his dad have like super junky cars in these really awesome, surrounded things, and so those guys are like lucky to get to the race every week. And I haven't been to their shop, but I've been told about it, and it's not awesome. whereas like my father-in-law, his race shop was, it was modest, but it's nice. It's like, it's a really nice little shop, but it's modest. There are other guys who I'm sure have like really amazing spaces, and then some of them are probably lifting lifting engines, with a tree, and just under a tree.
Yeah.
So,
well, that actually does sound really interesting. Yeah. If you get back and see the places people work at, that'd be interesting.
Yeah. I think it'd be a fun addition to the project, and that is definitely something I hope to do in the future.
When we spoke the other day, you had mentioned you were currently in deer blind. You were out hunting. So
Yeah.
when you're out, I mean, were you hunting or were you photographing hunters at the time?
I was hunting.
Okay. and do you ever mix the two? Do you bring your camera with you when you go? You do.
Yeah, I've always got a camera with me. In those situations. And it's funny, I was talking to another photographer, a dear friend of mine, just yesterday about this, and like it's very difficult to find.
Can I just qualify that? You just said you were deer hunting and you were with a dear friend of yours the other day. Can we just
so yes,
couldn't resist.
Both. Well, it was he is both. So yeah, this other buddy of mine is an avid hunter and a photographer of hunting things, and he and I were just talking about what a pain it is, like, to get other hunters involved in like photos. Like, hey man, can I just follow you? Can I just be with you, and I'll get in a different stand and photograph you and your hunt. Nah, man, like that's weird. You're going to screw up my hunt or whatever. So a lot of like the promo type of stuff that we have to shoot is like post season or just before season or whatever. Because so some of the work that I have of hunting stuff is usually like out of season, and occasionally I'll get something in season. And that's a newer body of work for me. So I'm not really there yet, but it's something I'm definitely working on. The fishing stuff's a lot easier. People don't mind as near as much, especially I fly fish a lot, and so I photograph other fly fishermen a lot. And to just bump into some rando stranger on the river and be like, "Hey man, can I photograph you?" is super weird, but I have done it 100 times. Yeah. And so that's the thing. I'm like, I just kind of be like, "Hey man, I'm a fisherman too. I'm just out here shooting photos of other fishermen today. Would it be cool? Like if and I always try to give them a card, and just kind of talk to them just for a minute about fishing, or where maybe I'll name a spot on the river that I've been successful recently or whatever, and try to throw them a bone.
That's a
just
good
to let me follow them.
Mm-hmm.
So
that actually that's kind of that leads me to this question nicely, which is, here's a world where you're much more comfortable, right? I mean, this is your space. and how do you feel the difference when you're photographing, or interacting with people? Is it a more enjoyable experience for you when you are comfortable with that space?
I would say I would say it's a more conflicted thing. Like there's never been a time when I was photographing racing that I was like, man, wish that guy would move out of the way and let me drive. I wish he'd let me turn that wrench or whatever, and like literally for me right now, because I'm still sort of in an infancy on this type of work, I'm like, you're never going to catch fish doing that. So for me right now, I've got to just leave the rod at home, just only put on my waders and go in the water and shoot. And there's this part of me that's still like, well, maybe I can do a little bit of fishing while I'm doing this. And a lot of times I've actually gone out with the sole intent of just getting pictures of fish, and I'm the only person, like nobody's can go or whatever. So I'll just go fishing, and then I'll take a GoPro and stick it under the water and see if I can't get some good snaps of fish or, of an otter or whatever that's happening,
And when you're fishing and hunting, where you already have, another set of gear with you, what do you bring photographically? You pare things down to a minimum. You use a zoom lens instead of, bringing a series of primes. How's that work for you?
Yeah. So on hunting, oddly enough, I got a gig last year. It's a really strange gig for me. Not strange in that it's like a weird thing, but it's like headshots for a company.
Mm-hmm.
It was weird in that they're like, we have the lights and here's exactly how we want them set up. You might have to tear them up and set them down in different spaces, but like you're going to follow this exact thing and it has to be shot at F whatever. And you're going to need this lens. So I didn't have that lens. So I went and bought that lens. And so but it's a zoom. It's like the 70 to 200 for Fuji. And I think that's like a 50 to 140 or something like that.
Yeah,
2.8.
something like that. Yep.
And so that's now my hunting lens. So I stick that down in my bag with one XT2 body, and that's my hunting lens. When I'm doing the fishing work, I have carried everything out there. I had a Hasselblad with a digital back that I delicately held right above the water.
What could go wrong?
With waders? Yeah, exactly. Like, well, maybe the insurance will pay off on this one. It was a really old medium format digital. And so the value was pretty low at the time. But so anyway, yeah, I mean, I've carried everything on the water, which is oddly enough the far more dangerous of the two. As far as, like gear getting hurt or whatever, because I could definitely fall in the water at any second. But yeah, so I have different goals for different things or different kits for different things. And so I have this really cool waterproof bag that a local company makes, and I cannot remember the name of it to save my life right now. But anyway, it's like they do bags for whitewater. And so it's like this big dry bag. And so I'll stick a GoPro with a dome and a couple other cameras in there. And I'll just put that thing on my back when I get in the water. And so I know that even if I fall, if it's in the bag, it's going to at least be okay. For hunting, I'm just kind of sticking it down in my pack with my other hunting stuff. And I actually dropped one out of a deer stand, dropped that big lens and camera like 20 feet out of a deer stand last year. And
survived?
No problems, man. All's good.
There you go.
Okay, we're going to take a short break for traffic and weather, and we come back more with Matthew Franklin Carter and how to hustle for a buck in the South Carolina marketplace. Stay tuned.
We hope you're enjoying this edition of the B&H Photography Podcast. The best way to support the show is by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. For links to gear and more information on today's guests, check out the show notes in your podcast app or visit our homepage on the B&H Explorer website and join the B&H Photography Podcast Facebook group. And now, back to the show.
Okay, we are back. Matt, let's pick up over here. When we left, I mentioned about earning a living away from a big city. Now, again, if you're in any of the major cities, New York, Los Angeles, Atlanta, Chicago, wherever, you almost have to specialize because the market is so big that people can pick and choose. And it's often hard to be a generalist, where in your market, which is a much smaller town, city, you have to be able to be a jack of all trades in many ways, and you have been doing that. Talk a little bit about, if you can, about how you go about earning a living as a photographer where you are.
I've always built myself as kind of an editorial and commercial portrait photographer. So while that's broad, it is niche. Like I'm not hanging a shingle as architectural or food or families or anything like that, weddings.
Seems like it'd be dangerous to do so because you got to keep yourself open to whatever you can do, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, you get calls for things, and you do need to be able to do everything in this market. And in other markets, so what I like to call the 95% of the U.S., all of us really do have to be able to shoot everything. You can't just rest on your laurels and go, well, this is, I only shoot magazines or I only shoot, food or whatever. Here, you kind of have to be able to do it all. if you're going to get any regional magazine work or whatever, that, you know, I've been called to shoot food. I've been called to shoot architecture. I've been called to shoot portraits, stories, all this stuff. So you do have to be good enough at all of it. But I also encourage others to try to stay in their lane, and myself. So, I kind of live in such a way, or work in such a way that, like, if I get a call about, some gig that's like all architecture, there's a really good chance I'm going to try to justify to myself that I can do that job. But there's also a really good chance that I'm going to call a buddy up the road who's really good at architecture and just be like, "Hey man, I got a fish on the line. Do you want it?" Because it's just not what I do. And then I let that client know, "Hey, I could do that for you. I'm not the best to do that for you. Here's a person. But if you have a gig that comes up that's like portrait, if you need headshots for your business, or some environmental portraits of your corporate report, anything like that, please call me." That's a dangerous move, but that's a move that has come back, you know, in spades for me. And that's just being good people to all my competitor buddies.
So the bulk of your clients then are made up of regional magazines, some private enterprises, corporate work, stuff like that. I mean, I also see you do musicians. Is it just kind of this kind of a grab bag of friends and contacts you've made over the years? Is there kind of one source that is your regular well?
Yeah. So for me, it is a lot of what you said, like my current sphere of influence, whoever I know out there. I use LinkedIn a ton to get work, and Agency Access and Wonderful Machine. All three of those are kind of like my three things that I really use to get work or have work come my way.
And do you spend a lot of time doing? I mean, do you spend a lot of time on the self-promotion and advertising of your work, or is it just again kind of the word of mouth and client to client?
I would say until a year ago, it was all word of mouth, and me just, you know, occasionally knocking on doors or whatever, reaching out to people, and then a year ago, 2 years ago, I started doing a monthly mailer, and I've been very inconsistent with it. So I find it to be like the hardest part of my job is the self-promotion piece.
Yeah, definitely.
To me, it's far easier to keep a customer than it is to get one. So
that's a good point.
I'm pretty good at retaining clients for the, you know, as much as you can. You know, even in this small of a market, you know, we've got some pretty big companies in here, and I've seen them chew through all of us, you know, like, you know, and yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And one thing I'm curious about, how big is we're talking about Greenville, South Carolina, but I'm assuming you're reaching further than that. I mean, what's the radius of the market that you actively pursue?
I will come to your town. No.
Okay.
Yeah. So for me, I would say it's mostly like Charlotte, Charleston, Atlanta, Nashville, even, which is 6 hours away. So Greenville, for those not in the know, we're nestled exactly between Charlotte, North Carolina, and Atlanta, Georgia. So I'm on 85, right between those two. So Atlanta being about 2.5 hours if traffic is great, and about an hour and a half, 2 hours to Charlotte, 6 hours to Nashville, 3 hours to Charleston, South Carolina, which is a kind of a different market. And Charlotte is kind of a really funny market. Charlotte has a lot of money. They just don't like to spend it. It's a banking town, so it's very conservative fiscally. So, but all these places have amazing photographers too, you know, and so that's difficult, you know. So that's why I started, you know, throwing a broader net over that. You know, my Agency Access was just like a South thing, And conventional wisdom right now would say, hey, just keep it in the South because you're, like things are locked down and like, nobody's traveling and all that kind of stuff. But there's also a lot of, businesses right here in Greenville or like some podunk town that uses an agency in LA. So you really do I think you need to cast that net all over the nation. But I think you also need to cast that net in such a way that you're hyper focused on your specific type of work. So I've while having a mailing list of like 7,000 sounds amazing, most of that's probably garbage. You're going to need to weed through that and go, does this even begin to look like something somebody would hire me to shoot? So I think that's one of the big things that I'm trying to learn for myself and quit casting such broad a net. And I'm really putting in the time. That's what you have to do. I don't care if you buy a list or you curate your own list, you've got to spend the time going through that list and then updating that list. And that's why I think LinkedIn is such an amazing tool.
Huh. We were talking Instagram earlier, and you seem to have kind of a love-hate relationship with it. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I was an early adopter of Instagram, got on there, got kind of high and mighty about rights at some point and left because of terms of agreement or terms of service or whatever. And then I came back to it because I was lonely and bored. And it was thinking, oh, well, maybe this is why I'm not getting work because I'm not on Instagram. And then came back to Instagram, did it for a while. And then I got kind of lost in my own head of like self-doubt and everything when I'm seeing all my buddies getting jobs. Like I'll see, like, oh, I'm doing a live story from X plant. And I'm like, oh man, like that's my old client. Why didn't they call me? Or whatever, And so like, and it just became this goofy like competition in my brain, for stuff that we don't even shoot the same kind of work or whatever. And so it was just goofy. And so probably a year and a half ago, I cut it all loose. And Instagram, Facebook, everything but LinkedIn. The other argument for that, by the way, was because I have a number of really close photography buddies, and they're like, "Why are you doing this? Man, I can't believe you're doing that." And I tell them, and they're like, "Yeah, but what about the work?" And I'm like, "Can you name a single job that came from Instagram?" And the answer was a resounding no. In our market, I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I'm sure there's lots of people out there who get tons of jobs just from Instagram, but that was not the case for us. And I'm sure there's some Greenville guy who's going to go, dude, you're stupid. Everything I get is from Instagram. Right. Whatever. You're an outlier.
No, I think that's a good point. I mean,
but so like that was an issue for me. So anyway, all that to say, I've had a year and a half of like not caring what other people think about me or what jobs that they're getting or whatever. And so now I'm coming back to Instagram to do two things. One, to post work and to have an online portal, additional outside of my website, where I can put curated work and leave it and walk away. So like I'll post, walk away, come back the next week, post again, answer any questions or, whatever, and then walk away. I'm just not going to let it eat up my time or my mind power. And so the other big key is the only other reason I want to be on Instagram is, and this is the only thing I really ever got out of Instagram that I'm good at, is harnessing people. So like going in and going, hey, like that guy's cool. I'd like to photograph him. I'm going to reach out through this because this is the only common bond we have. So I see it as a way to reach out to people and be actually social on social media. So
I think that's a really interesting point, and I find myself doing the same. When someone likes a photo of yours, or you have you're like, hey, I can reach out to this person now. We have some relationship, and ask them to be on the podcast or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I as a side note, it's no longer on here. Well, I think it's buried in my blog maybe, but there was a project that I did that was probably one of the last things I did on Instagram. and it was a personal project called Following. And so I was just reaching out to people that I was following that I didn't know, and saying, hey, can I come to your house for like 3 hours and photograph you and do some audio recordings or video recordings of you, like singing and all kinds of stuff. And so I had a couple people let me do it, man. And it was cool. That got a lot of good feedback locally. So anyway, like I don't know, Instagram has always been a good conduit for meeting people. Outside of that, it's not my thing.
I hear you. And what about individuals? I mean, do you get calls from, let's say a local artist or just, I don't even know what, maybe, someone down the street that wants their portrait work done. Do you take those jobs or do you tend to kind of not want to get involved?
Yes and no. I do actually a lot of headshots for like local businesses. And so like, when I say local businesses, I mean like local entrepreneurs kind of thing. So somebody who's doing some kind of, random gig, kind of like myself or whatever. I'll shoot a lot of headshots for that kind of stuff and portraits. And then also, occasionally like a family will call or something and I'll be like, I don't wanna.
Yeah.
Let me look at my checkbook. Yeah, I'll take it. How much money are we talking here? So yeah, I'll do that stuff occasionally, like every now and then I'll do a wedding. But I really try to give all that stuff to other friends. I've been blessed in that our community is really cool here as far as like the photographic community. I started a thing here, 5 years ago maybe, and we were calling it Shop Talk Tuesday. And so I would get together once a month on a Tuesday, and every commercial, editorial, whatever, if you shoot a camera or if you're just an assistant or a makeup artist or whatever, come out to this place and we're going to hang out for a few hours and just talk shop. So we had as many as like 50 or as few as 2. And it was not like an RSVP thing. It was like, here's where it's going to be. If you want to be there, cool. If not, that's cool too. But through that, like I think I was able to meet a lot of other people, and I actually did it just out of necessity for me because I needed answers, I needed community to figure out like this business part of things. And so I created my own community, man.
There you go. That's smart. And what about in terms of lighting? And do you have a studio? And what do you use for lighting when you're doing a portrait that's, or even if you take lights on an environmental portrait, what do you use?
Yeah. So my current kit of lights is Elinchrom, or what I've always shot is Elinchrom. I've got the terrible with names 500s ELCs, 500 HD, I think that's what it's called. So I've got a couple of those guys. I've got the Quadra Rangers. Mm-hmm. That was the little tiny packing head for Elinchrom. Then I've got, a handful of hot shoe flashes. And so, yeah, I lit everything once I learned to light. It was like, oh, this is cool. And, I'm going to light everything because I have to. And at some point a few years ago, I decided to start giving that up a little bit. And I went out to shoot some pictures one day, I think, without flash. And I was like, I suck. I am terrible at this. Where are my lights? Where's all the control? And so now I'm bringing lights back in to halfway it, so to support things. So I don't know. I think we all start out, in one place and you end up somewhere and then you're like, oh, but what about the old place? And so I'm trying to make everything as natural as possible these days. But for a long time, it was very graphic and, let me throw a 10-degree spot grid on this guy. But for portraits, I am a low shot count guy. I really just don't spray and pray at all. I'm pretty slow and methodical with portrait work. I set things up the way I like them, and if I think something is not working or really sucky, I'm pretty quick to be like, "Hey, let's just this is terrible. Let's just do something else."
No, but I find that interesting because it kind of gets at the heart of what we're talking about a little bit, which is, kind of being able to wear different hats, and here you are using almost two totally different approaches. If you're out in the field, like you said, you shoot a lot, and otherwise the studio, it's something different, and that's that's important. It's necessary, I suppose.
Yeah, it's funny. I still assist.
Yeah.
I have a good friend who I will still assist.
Right.
And if somebody came to town or whatever, I would probably still go help somebody. And a lot of people are like, why do you still assist? Because I feel like it's kind of like helping a buddy move and then watching them sweat. So it's a lot of fun. You're like,
it's them doing it.
You get in there, you learn something from them, but you don't have to worry about anything else. Like, hey man, I'm just going to help you move into your new apartment or whatever. That's all it feels like to me. And I might learn something on the way. So,
that's the key thing there. I think you assist because you're learning. I mean, there's always something new to learn. Always.
For sure.
Okay, Matt, we've been talking for a while here. It's been great. Some lovely conversations, some wonderful insights. Any projects you're going to be working on as 2021 approaches?
Yeah, I've decided to start this new thing that I think I'm going to call like Soil to Smoke. And it's basically just like anything from the soil until it hits your dinner plate, like the smoke. And there's a lot of like farm to table, field to fork. There's all the stuff. So it might be a little too cliche. I don't know. We'll see. But the idea is that like we should all know where our food's coming from, and you should actively be taken apart somehow. Whether that means like just going to a farm and buying from a local farmer, buying clean, better food for yourself and for your family. Or you're out hunting, fishing, foraging, gardening, whatever, like take apart somewhere, like get a couple chickens, raise some bees, whatever, just go to the farmer's market, support the farmer's market, whatever. And so, I've started shooting all this stuff. A lot of it on my own property, that I had. And we've just now moved further out into the country, but into a subdivision. So now I don't have chickens anymore. I don't have bees anymore. Don't even have a garden right now. So, but I've got a buddy up the street who has a farm, and I'll meet other farmers and all that kind of stuff. So I want to start photographing all these hunters, fishers, farmers, foragers, whatever, because that work seems to be playing together really well. So I don't know. It's like I said, it's probably the first thing I've ever felt like, hey, I've got something to say as a photographer. In the past, it's always just been like, I'm going to shoot whatever, Instagram or Vanity Fair or whatever magazines out there or whatever publications, Garden & Gun, whatever I feel like people are liking, that's what I'm going to go shoot. And that is a bad recipe for disaster, I think, for all of us. And so for me, there's only one Matthew Carter, and there's only this, one screwed up brain and set of eyes that can go out and photograph what I photograph best. And so that's who I want to be, like I don't want to be Yusuf Karsh anymore. If I could be one person, it would be William Albert Allard, because that guy's amazing. And if you don't know the book Portraits of America, go get it.
Yeah, I do.
Love that guy's work. But
no, but you make a really good point, and I think that's something we hear from a lot of photographers is you have to find that your point of view, your what story you want to tell, and I hope that works. Obviously it's really interesting to me, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I think it's a better marrying within my whole site to maybe like push everything, start going that way a little bit, like a little bit of food, a little bit of the whole process. Those 3 images on Instagram are the only thing recently that I've done for that. And that's, I think, where the work's going to start going.
Okay, that is a wrap of another exciting show. And Matt, really absolute pleasure talking to you. Very refreshing, a lot of fun, good stuff. If people would like to see more of your work, where can they go?
So mainly two portals. There's MatthewFranklinCarter.com and then Wonderful Machine, supported by them. And so you can go there and check me out along with a gazillion other awesome people.
Again, both of those addresses, both of those links will be in our show notes for sure. And again, it's Matthew with 2 T's. Let's not forget about that.
Thank you.
Again, Matt, absolute pleasure talking to you, and hope to have you back again sometime, talk about some new work.
That'd be awesome. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. If you'd like to get a heads up the very moment a new B&H Photography podcast goes live, it's so easy. Simply head on over to wherever you get your podcast fix. Type B&H Photography Podcast into the search field, and boom, you have got it. You can also find us on the B&H Explorer website and on the B&H Photography Podcast Facebook group page. All that said, my name is Alan Weitz, and on behalf of John Harris and Jason Tables, thank you so much for tuning in today.